Hi everyone, my name is Heather and I'm the person behind Happy Puppy Truffles. Today I wanted to share with you a traditional origami that you can kind of tweak in lots of different ways to get some really cool results. It's the traditional origami medallion, and I've made some different variations of it here by just doing different kinds of fold steps at different points, and it gives a whole different result. So I thought I'd kind of share with you guys just the pre-steps, of course, of how to lead to the beginning part of the medallion, and then show you where you can kind of experiment with different ways of folding the different edges down to create all these different things from the same base. So, and then you can certainly use these to assemble to make kusudamas. You can use them as coasters. You can use them to decorate. You can hang them like mobile kind of, or hang them up like stars in a diamond or as a square shape. Either way, so many fun ways to use it. I really utilize some of the coolness of the effects of everything by using double-sided paper too. That's always a good way to go if you want to have that cool effect of two colors. I'm going to show you guys today with just traditional origami paper, which uses, of course, a color on one side and white on the other. So you'll get a feel for the same effect. But if you want even more, like with these, this is always a good way to use double-sided paper if you happen to have it. So I'm just going to go ahead and put these to the side for a second and show you guys what we can do here. Just as a quick reminder, I'll show you guys the steps to fold to make the medallion. So if you have your piece of paper here, we want to go ahead and start off first by with our color side facing down. I'm just going to put some diagonal creases in my paper. Do both ways here. And then I'm going to go ahead and fold it in half. And fold it in half the other way as well. And I'm going to go ahead and use some door base by folding the outer edge into the center to that crease I just made. I'll do this on both sides here. Open it up, turn it 90 degrees, and do the other way as well. So we're getting all these preliminary creases down that'll help us with the next step. Open everything up. And if you look at it sort of as a diamond shape here, we're going to fold both of these sides up until we get this part at the tip that sticks up awkwardly. And smooth things out here at the top. There's always a crease there already, so it shouldn't be too hard. And then we're just going to allow this to lay down flat, and you can kind of use this as a guide to keep it straight. We want to try to keep it as straight as we can to fold down so that we create this crease underneath. And then I can do the other side too, so that by doing that, I wind up getting both of these diagonal creases here, and then if I put a little pressure right here on the top, I can push it down into this nice little diamond shape. And we're just going to repeat those steps for the other four sides. Now I find it works a lot easier if you open your work up for a second and then do each of these additional sides. Otherwise, this is sort of in your way as you're folding, and that can be frustrating. So it's good to go ahead and just give yourself a second. Do each one as you go. Make sure it goes down flat, and then open it up and turn it around and just keep going around until you can get all four of these folded down nicely. And the cleaner you can make this and the more accurate, the better, you know, your finished piece is going to look. So you want to try to use this as a chance to kind of practice your technique a little bit and try to keep things nice and lined up good. And then you wind up basically bringing all of these together when we're done to have something like this. And then this is where we start to go for the pieces to do the other steps. Now, the first one I was just going to show you guys here is actually with one of these where we take each of these flaps and fold it straight up, revealing the color underneath. And then folding these little flaps here straight up too, and that kind of locks things down a little bit when you do this. That is a good fold to make. And then in the example I showed before, what I wound up doing is taking this part and folding it in thirds, folding it down, and then making sure that you have enough so that when you fold the tip back up again, it hits right at that ridge if you can. And sometimes it takes a little bit of guesswork, but you can kind of get that worked out so that you get a good third fold going there. Now you could also, of course, fold straight down in half and then fold up to. That's another variation that'll create a slightly different effect when you're done. So this is one of those things where you can kind of play around with it and do different things just with this folding technique here, and it'll give you a really different cool result when you're done. So I just folding down and then back up again with that flap on all four sides here. And then get that completed. And then what I did actually in the example that I showed you guys here with the orange one, I went ahead and then also folded down this part just to create the mimic of that texture of this triangle shape that you see here. And that can be one way that you can do it, or you can leave it up like you see it here too. So all of this is just about finding a style that you like based on maybe the paper you're using or what effect you like best. But that's sort of the way you get this sort of cool little effect with the little tiny triangles everywhere. So that's one way that you can fold stuff. Another way that you can do stuff here is to take what you have and tuck part of this behind and underneath and create sort of a cool little effect. And when I do this, I like to kind of open stuff up again here so it's a little easier to work with. And just looking at one of these corners, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and fold a flap over, and I'm going to take this and fold it towards this point so that I'm getting a really nice sharp point at the top, and I'm effectively tucking that side behind, creating this long edge. I'll take this part and flip it over, do the same thing on this side, and then return this. And now I have this kind of smaller kite shape. And so when I fold this flap up, I get a smaller area of white revealed and a little different result than what we just did before. So you could repeat that step then on the rest of these sides by just folding everything over and folding this again from the tip down, creating a cool little effect of tucking this behind. And this creates sort of a cooler little star effect then when we're done. So we keep pulling this over, and I just keep going around, doing this on all four sides. And it gets, like I said, it can be a little awkward when some of those, when the part here is in the way a little, so you got to take your time and be patient with that so that it doesn't interfere with your work too much. We'll get all this folded over. And then you can take the interior section and fold up again on this too. Of course, you can leave it like this if you want, or you can take this little tiny flap that you see here and fold that up to kind of secure things. And it just reveals another little layer of texture and allows things to kind of pop up and gives us this cool little center then. And I really like when you put this one kind of like diagonally so that you can get this effect. That's how it looks here with the green. But you know, it looks cool either way. So that's another way that you can kind of play around with the folding technique. So we tuck behind those sides first to create a narrower section here. And then another thing that you can do is to take from this stage, we can take all of this, open it up a second. We're going to take and create a different kind of situation up here at the top by folding these sides this way as opposed to this way. And I'm not going to tuck them underneath. What I'm going to do is fold it over and then take this section and open it up and smoosh it out and expose the white this way by smooshing that down and out. And I can do the same thing on this side too. And then there's some different ways that you can handle this section like this if you go ahead and push all these out. So I'll go ahead and kind of fast forward here and pop all of these out so I can show you guys the next steps that you can do with this sort of design. So these are all the sides folded over, and then what you can do here is take the tabs that are underneath here, underneath these little flaps. And these are the same tabs we folded on the other the other time. But we're just going to push these up underneath stuff, leaving those other long flaps down. So that gives us a little secure position there. And do the same thing on this one too. Can kind of help to get it sort of started there. Try to keep it straight, of course, lined up with the line that's behind it. Just sort of lift these up if you need to get to it. And that's one way to kind of finish things off there with the pieces still pointing towards the middle, and gives a really kind of cool 3D effect when you do it, like you can see here with the blue too. It looks really cool. And then another kind of suggestion that you can do with this is to take these same pieces here, of course, and take this little guy and fold it straight up to reveal some white. I'm going to go around and do this on all 4 sides, of course. And then in my example, what I did then was I went ahead and also folded this part back, and you just fold to where those 2 tips are, creating this kind of rounded edge. And then if you want, you can leave this tip extended, or you can also tuck that behind too to create a complete like sort of octagon then with the 8 sides. So it just sort of depends on the kind of, you know, effect that you want to have. And you can use this technique of tucking this part behind to create the octagon for any of the other designs too, to just get a different result. And then one other thing I went ahead and did with this, you could of course just leave it this way, but then I went ahead and just folded out this part again to kind of create just one more layer that you can then put into here and get all of that kind of exposed with the sort of flower in the middle there. And the neat thing about this one is because of those flaps on the back side, it kind of stands up almost like a little stand there. This is how it looks here with the pink and red. But just so many different variations of the ways that you can kind of play around with this. And one other thing you can kind of do, especially with this one, is you can go ahead and put a section of other color. You could throw a third color in by putting another piece of paper in here. And you could essentially do that with all of these. It would just create a different layer of color underneath, and can kind of have some fun with it that way. But I just wanted to give you guys some ideas and remind you that a lot of origami is about taking those beginning steps that you see in a lot of traditional origami and then just having fun with it, and you know, changing the way you fold things. No one says all this has to be uniform. You could do, you know, opposite sides one way and these sides a different way, to create some whole different kind of effect. So lots of different things you can look at to create some really cool designs. And I think, of course, using, you know, these kinds of colorful papers can also make it a lot of fun. So, and I just like the 3D effect that they kind of give too, because they kind of pop up a little bit. So I'll have some more fun things to share with you guys in the days to come. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.